Of that.
Whenever horizon.
There's real value in experiencing it at different times of year. The house is reacting differently to the light, to the colors out in the landscape, season by season. So it's going to be a different house every time that you see it. When the light's different, or if it's raining, the house is a completely different experience. And I think people can really connect with it, even if you're not here because you're drawn to the sophistication of the architecture. Because it's so based in the fundamentals of nature, I think no matter who you are, there's going to be something about this experience that you connect with. My name's Justin Gunther. I'm the director here at Falling Water, which is located in Mill Run, Pennsylvania, in southwestern Pennsylvania. Falling Water was designed by the American architect Frank Lloyd Wright, and he really sought out to revolutionize every building topology throughout the course of his career, trying to find solutions for modern living. So with Falling Water, he kind of reinvented what we think of as a house, kind of reinvented what churches look like for America and for the world. He based all of his ideas in the fundamentals of nature. Through his architecture, tried to harmonize the built environment with the natural environment through what he called an organic architecture. So basing the design, the colors, the motifs of his buildings on nature's forms and principles. The clients for Frank Lloyd Wright for Falling Water were the Kaufmans. The Kaufman family owned Pittsburgh's largest department store. And it was a family of three: Edgar Kaufman Sr., his wife Lillian Kaufman, and their adult son, Edgar Kaufman Jr. And they had known about this landscape for a long time. Originally, in the late 1800s, there was a Victorian summer camp here that was built by a group of masons out of Pittsburgh. If you know Pittsburgh in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was the Steel City, so lots of smog and pollution. So people escaped from Pittsburgh to come out to the mountains for some fresh air. So the Kaufmans learned of the camp and started leasing it as a retreat from Pittsburgh to the employees of the department store. In the 1930s, they ended up buying the camp from the Masons and then started thinking about the idea of having a more formal retreat house here, a more formal weekend house. And at that time, Edgar Kaufman Jr., the son, was also trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life. He was in his 20s, and he really didn't want to spend his career in the family business and was much more interested in the arts. A friend of his had recommended that he read Frank Lloyd Wright's newly published An Autobiography, which was published in 1932. Edgar Kaufman Jr. fell in love with this idea of organic architecture, of architecture inspired by nature, because the family loved nature and loved being in nature. So he sought out Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright had just established an apprenticeship program at Taliesin. Edgar Kaufman Jr. applied to that apprenticeship program. And of course, Frank Lloyd Wright, knowing who the Kaufmans were, could sniff out a good potential client. So Edgar Kaufman Jr. had no problem getting accepted into the apprenticeship program. And he spent about 6 months at Taliesin learning under Frank Lloyd Wright. And while he was there, Mom and Dad came to visit, also kind of got enamored with Wright's ideas of organic architecture. So Frank Lloyd Wright was chosen by the family to realize that dream of a formal weekend house here at Bear Run. So it really is the son that brings Wright into the Kaufman universe and then starts a lifetime relationship with the architect. Wright was invited, obviously, after they decided he was going to design the house. Wright was invited to come out and visit the site. And the Kaufmans thought that they were going to have a house that was looking at the falls. And then, of course, Wright had different ideas. He thought that if you put the most dramatic part of a landscape in your view constantly, that it would become something that's tiresome. You would just become used to it, and it wouldn't have the drama and effect of it. As if you were forced out into the landscape to see it, then it would always have an impact. So Wright envisioned this idea of putting the house over top of the waterfall rather than looking at it, so that the family was constantly living with the falls rather than just seeing it off in the distance. Because the boulder behind me that makes the hearth of the fireplace was the family's favorite sunbathing boulder and picnicking boulder by the falls, it becomes the symbolic heart of the house. The fire is always that place of gather in the heart of the home. So that boulder has a very symbolic place in the placement of the architecture, but also in the meaning of this space. And it's also the symbolic fulcrum point for the whole cantilever design. So if you think of that boulder as the center of a seesaw, all of this stone that's back here at the back of the house is holding all of the free mass that's floating over the falls, kind of pivoting symbolically on this boulder that's the heart of the home. The design work for the project started in 1935. Construction started in December of 1936, and when the family started using the main house here by the end of 1937. And then the guest house commission starts up the hill, and that's finished in 1939. So it took about 3 years to complete the project. And all the stone for the building was quarried from the site. The aggregate for the concrete came from the site, so there's that kind of physical tie to site with the actual materiality of the architecture. The house is really handmade by local laborers, so they were getting farmers and timbermen from Mill Run and Bear Run, and then basically training them on the job to build this house, which is very much, even though intensely modern, and we think of modern as machine-made, and there's certainly some machine-made elements to this house, but it's a very handmade house, which also gives it that kind of organic quality that people can really connect with. The main house here is about 10,000 square feet, half of that being exterior terrace space. And the reason there's so much exterior space is because the whole purpose of this house is to push you outside, or at least to always have the outdoors as the primary